government is investing $75 million over 4 years to support rangatahi and young people to find a safe, stable place to live, put down roots in their communities, and thrive. So, joining us this morning is the Associate Minister of Housing with the bracket in between homelessness, Marama Davidson. And with that, we say good morning, Marama, and welcome to the show.
Morena koutou. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you this morning, Marama. So, how do we actually introduce that for future references? Do we say Associate Minister of Housing Homelessness? Is that just how you say it, or all in one?
You can say it however you like. It's Associate Minister of Housing, and if you like, in the area of homelessness, which helps explain it, I think.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. The brackets is always like, I say the brackets, okay, we'll put it there anyways. But we really appreciate you joining us this morning. Hey, I mentioned the $75 million, and I think that usually when you hear something like that, that's usually the thing that captures the people's attention. But I know that there's going to be a first lot of $40 million that'll be used, because I know that it goes in pairs and all those things. So I'm wondering, how will the first lot of $40 million be used to support our young people who are homeless, Marama?
Thank you. And I think it's really important to recognise that the situation of young people in homelessness in Aotearoa is unacceptable. It's unacceptable for any person to be homeless, but when they are young, it means that we're actually setting them up for a path of struggle and difficulty. And so interrupting homelessness for young people is a priority, and the sector have told us that, the communities have told us that. So this budget 22, it allocated 75 million in total, and 40 million of that, as you've said, is for extending specific youth homelessness places. So it will give another 20 million, will give another 95 places over 4 years. And so that's more transitional housing that is very specific and youth focused. And then another 20 million is going to be for the services. And so expanding support for another 65 places over 4 years. And I think, can I just say what's important there is we cannot, and what we've seen is we cannot treat young people like everyone else in the system. It doesn't work. Young people need very specific provision, very specific support that will especially interrupt them experiencing homelessness, and instead set up a life of well-being and quality lives. And so that's where that 40 million, so you've got 20 million for the actual places, 95 places, and then you've got 20 million for the support, because we can't just shove them into places, can't do that for most people, but especially for young people, can't just shove them into motels and into places, and we have been doing that because we've been desperate. But what we actually need is very specific and bespoke, I suppose, places for young people, plus also the support.
Yeah, no, it's a big job, and I know that homelessness isn't just without a roof. I know that there's many things that come under the category of homelessness. So I'm wondering, with the amount of young people that we have under the category of homelessness, Marama, how hard is it, first of all, to look after so many young people who are struggling with, not just housing, but under the banner of homelessness? How hard is that to, first you got to find them, then you got to cater to them. So I'm wondering, that whole system with how it's done, how hard is that to sort of accomplish?
Yeah, so I think firstly, it's, if I haven't said it already, almost half of people experiencing homelessness are under 25 years old.
Oh,
That's ridiculous.
yeah.
And actually 19%, so almost 20%, are under 15 years of age.
Wow.
So it's really hard. But I think what's the main thing I want to say here is this is why we have to work with our expertise, our providers, our people in the community, our leaders in the community who know the skills that are required to do this mahi. And the mahi it's connecting work, hey? It's connecting work in the community. And I know our Māori and Pasifika community leaders and leadership has shown that that's how we have to do our mahi for our people. So it's challenging, Yehua, but this is why government needs to work with providers and needs to work with the people who have got those relationships, that expertise, and in fact, the providers who bring through people who have that experience themselves. And so, for example, LifeWise and Kahui Tu Kaha are two organisations who are running youth-specific, targeted support and places for young people. And I just visited one only a few days ago, Monday actually, in Auckland, Kāhui Tukaha, and I managed to go into the homes of these young mama. So Kāhui Tukaha run a whole apartment building,
Wow.
primarily focused on young mama and their beautiful babies. And I managed to go into the homes of these amazing young mama who are doing their best with what they have and looking after their beautiful babies. But we need safe, secure spaces with on-site support, with people who these young mama can connect with, know that they can rely on, get the income support, make sure the homes are healthy and warm and safe, make sure that they've got some security there, and all of the different needs that they come with, that there's a pathway to get support. So I guess the two things there are the expert providers, the community leaders, and agencies, government agencies, now have a better idea of what is needed, because we've come through 2.5 years of COVID, and we had to put some of our young people into motels, and we learned very quickly that that's not an ideal and safe solution for our young people. So now we've got a better idea, but especially work with our providers.
Yeah, that's a huge job, Marama. What's it like being there in the front line? I guess talking to these mamas and talking to the young people about it. That must be a bit tough for you,
Do you know what? It's unacceptable that anyone, and especially our young mama and young people, are without secure, warm, safe housing.
Yeah.
But when I go into the places who are doing this mahi, when I go in and when they generously let me into their lounge, let me awhi there and hug their babies, what I hear from all of them is how much of a difference these places make for them.
Wow.
So that gives me hope, because the sector told me, we want you to prioritise young people in homelessness. Budget 22 is a direct response to me listening to that and me making sure that that was our priority for my portfolio, this sector, this year. And the sector said to me, we've built up our knowledge, our skills, and our leadership. And when those mama say to me, it's a humble little place that these particular mama have, a little 1-bedroom place, they are so honoured and they're so moved. They're not asking for much, but they're so moved just to have a healthy, quality little place to feel stable, safe and secure and for their babies. And all I walk out is thinking, this is the least they deserve. This is the least they deserve. And then I see the relationship that they have with the youth workers, with the support providers, and I see the trust that they have built. And I think to myself, this is the least that they deserve. I want to see that for all of our people, but especially for our young people.
Yeah, because that should just be human right, just by nature, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have enough here in Aotearoa for everyone to have what they need. But I know we're going to talk more about that in this interview as well. But yes, these young people, it makes such a difference when they are given some support and some help.
Yeah, and one thing I've known, I guess, growing up in the church and being a part of those youth groups, is seeing when young people receive love, you see the way that they receive it. And it might not be via words, but by a continuation of their relationship with you, or wanting to get to know you a bit better. And that's how I notice these young people respond. But I'm wondering, with young people, is there a way to help young people grow into a more generational, wealthy future? I know that that's a huge question, but we can supply for them some money now, and $75 million is good now, but then what about in 20 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what that might look like.
Yeah, I do. It's the best question. It's the question that is right at the heart of everything that we should be doing right now. It's the best question. So thank you for the question. And the answer is yes. There are things that we can do to ensure young people live long-term good lives, not just the crisis right now, but actually are set up to live quality, long-term good lives. And the Green Party, and as the co-leader of the Green Party, what we talk about is, at the moment, well, for many, many generations, for almost 200 years, actually, what we've seen is wealth is being held in the hands of a few, and everyone else is having to scrap for the crumbs off the table. That has to change. that is what is impacting on young people's ability to live good lives, because that means that rents are expensive for the majority of whānau, especially for Māori and Pasifika whānau. What that means is our income support rates are really, really low. They should have been increased generations ago. What that means is our public transport isn't as cheap and affordable and effective as it should be. One of the key ways that our young people get around and get from here to here. What that means is our environment. If you're talking about generational, intergenerational wealth, we need to understand the importance of having clean soil, especially in places like Tāmaki, Makaurau, clean soil, clean water. That should be seen as intergenerational wealth for our young people. And unfortunately, our economy has set us up to exploit our environment, exploit our people, hold the wealth into the hands of a few while everyone else is struggling. So for the Green Party, we know that ensuring that everyone has intergenerational wealth is turning that model upside down, where in fact, we're making sure that everyone has what they need. And so that's things like increasing our minimum wage and our living wage, making sure that we have rent controls right now, because rents just continue to rise for no good reason. Nothing to do with improving the quality of that home. At the moment, the market and landlords are just able to increase their rent for no reason. And so putting in place changes, big system changes, will really help get the basics right for our young people to have secure lives, and then they can chase big dreams, whatever. And having good education systems requires everyone to have good housing, to have enough kai to keep them healthy and fed, to make sure that our health services are properly supported and uphold who our young people are as Māori and Pasifika, and respects our young people with the integrity and the cultural identity that they have. All of these things is what will help young people live long, intergenerational quality lives, build intergenerational wealth. And until we get those basics right, we will keep putting barriers in the way for young people to realise those dreams.
Yeah, no, I can speak about it all day, Marama. It's a tough one. It's such a big topic where so many different things need to be covered. But I want to end the interview with this question, and I'm wondering if homelessness starts with the family, and that's its own statement altogether. If it starts with the family, how can the government better support families who are then struggling?
I want to firstly pick up on your really important statement, Ehua, which is homelessness impacts most immediately on the family. Can we just be really, really clear? Homelessness is not an accident. Successive governments have treated housing as a tradable commodity, as a way to build wealth, instead of as a human right, which are the words that you said, which I love, that you identified. This should just be a human right. And instead, unfortunately, successive governments have allowed housing to be used to raise the wealth for a few, and exploiting people who rent, exploiting people who can't afford to buy their own home. That's why we are seeing homelessness today. It's not an accident. Governments and people in power have made decisions proactively to keep it being a struggle just to find a place to live. We would like to see housing as a public right, core public good, housing as a human right, massively upscale, affordable and public housing, massively upscale our kaupapa Māori and Pasifika-led housing solutions. And that's what I wanted to talk about. How can government better support whānau who are struggling? Actually, it's by better supporting our providers, by our Māori and Pasifika providers, our community providers. It's by better supporting the relationships. So our government agencies need to have better relationships with those community providers. Look, we saw through COVID what happened. It was our Māori providers, Pasifika providers, community providers who government relied on to get the support out the door, to get the kai out the door, to do the vaccinations, to get the COVID isolation health kits out the door. How can government support families who are struggling? With our Māori leadership, with our Pasifika leadership in our communities. In fact, I have to say, living and being a strong, proud Manurewa hard resident and Southside resident for all my adult life, I have to say I was witnessing our Pacifica-led responses to COVID, whether it was getting kai, whether it was the incredible community vaccination days and vaccination drives that we were seeing, and the Pacifica leading that, I actually think taught everybody how to mobilize community, taught Maori. We were looking going, oh, look what they're doing. And government was going, oh, holy hickadoodoo, we should have just given them all the resources in the first place. So that's what I wanted to answer that partai with, is actually it's through better resourcing and giving better authority and power to our providers in the community.
Marama, I really appreciate your time this morning. We can talk about this all day long, Marama, and you're one of the people that I know that's driving this, and the human right of it is, I guess, it's so important to just keep remembering that, and to see someone in your position that still remembers that. And I don't mean, obviously, it is what it is, but to see that you acknowledge that as a human right is something awesome. So I will not acknowledge you this morning, Marama, but I just want to thank you so much for joining the show and speaking with us this morning as well.
Tēnā koe hoa, kia ora koutou. It's been such a privilege to be able to have this kōrero with you all this morning. Kia ora.